Hi everyone, welcome to episode 10 of the virtual coffee break. Today, Karina and I are going to be discussing whether you can grow a business solely on Amazon. Karina, is it a yes or no answer, or is it a little bit more complicated than that?
Yeah, it's always a bit of a yes or no answer, although I would probably steer more to no, because it
Okay.
really depends on what you mean by growth. So if we're talking about can you grow a business on Amazon just by selling on Amazon, yes. But can you reach your maximum potential by selling solely on Amazon? No.
I
Um,
would agree, yeah.
yeah. And it's really thinking about, okay, what are we talking about when we're talking about growth? Because some businesses have very high targets in what they want to go after. And then some businesses are quite comfortable with a certain sales level, which can be achieved on Amazon. So I think a lot depends on what the overall goal is, and your expectation of growth.
Yeah, and I would say there are brands out there that we're familiar with that actually just use Amazon and are very successful for that. But if you look at the lifestyle of their owners, what they're looking to do is, have this laid back lifestyle where they can go to the beach, go surfing. They're happy making their tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands per month on a channel like Amazon, and that lets them live a really comfortable life. But growth to them is sales revenue on one channel, whereas growing a brand, like you say, for someone else might be not just sales, but actually launching new products, getting a new audience. And so, yeah, I would say that Amazon's just a platform, and there are lots of platforms out there, and you really got to look at all of them and see whether
Yeah.
they're viable for your business.
And that's completely right. Like we've seen, and we work with some brands that are very successful solely selling on Amazon, and that might be enough. And there are people out there that their goal is to grow a successful business on Amazon and get to a point that it's sold, because there are
Yeah,
businesses that buy Amazon accounts or see the success and buy those Amazon businesses, right? Buy
yeah,
into those products. But I guess it's then down to also then there's this whole brand like versus product. Are you trying to create a whole new brand, or
yeah,
is it more that you want success of a product, and what's the longevity of that in terms of product life cycle as well? Is it, one hit wonder, sell it on Amazon, get your sales, then move on to the next product? Or is it about creating brand awareness? Because if you're trying to create brand awareness, then that's not going to happen solely on Amazon, because Amazon's transactional, right? It's a transactional website. Yes, you get the brand stores, sponsored brands, and Amazon's trying to boost that brand experience, but you've got to be doing stuff outside. And really the businesses that see, or what we've seen have the most success on Amazon is because the brand has exposure outside of Amazon. People see the brand in other retailers, in bricks and mortar, in the supermarkets, on social media, in Instagram, in Facebook.
yeah.
And that just creates a halo effect and that confidence as well.
Yeah, like I think there was a stat going around somewhere, I can't remember where, around it. A brand needs to get themselves in front of someone on average 7 times in order for them to convert, right? If they're in market or in the consideration phase for that product. And that doesn't just mean from an advertising perspective. Like you say, if you've got a presence, if I'm a confectionery brand or whatever it may be, and I'm in retail and I'm on other online websites, that might be messy to control and manage. However, from a consumer's perspective, the brand awareness goes up naturally. So if you've just put all your eggs in one basket, and you're just selling on Amazon, you're relying on the Amazon ecosystem, whether it's organic or paid views, to really promote your product. And you might do other activities outside of Amazon to drive people to that channel, but you're limited. If you're not in bricks and mortar, if you're not in other marketplaces or even your own website, then it's really, it's like, what is your overall goal? What is it you're looking to
Yeah.
achieve? And that could just be the way it is. Like, you might just be a 1 or 2 person business and you don't have the resource or the inclination to grow a team and start selling into other outlets. I think it just comes back to what is it you're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's price point can play quite a key role in all of this, because if, for example, because it's all about customer behavior, and if you've got a very cheap product and you're selling it on Amazon, chances are the customer probably is not so fussed about brand loyalty. They probably don't need to check your brand out if you exist elsewhere. And then, you know, they're just going to buy your product, and it's very much based on not branding. They're just going to buy the product because of the low price point. But if you've got a higher price point, then brand starts playing an important role. And then it's all about, well, who is this company, right? I'm going to invest X amount of money. Let's do some research. And I do this. I like, if I'm just buying something cheap on Amazon, I'll just see what comes up in search results. And that is going to be probably, you know, I was looking at shoelaces the other day. And so, you know, they're only a couple of pounds. So I'm not really going to be too fussed. I'm just going to get whatever comes up and looks okay. But if I start investing a lot more money, then I want to know, what are they doing on social media? I want to know a bit more about the brand. Where else are they selling? Are they a heard of brand as well? And so, yeah, it can often then be down to your product, not solely your product, but yeah, price point, I guess, as well.
Yeah, and like there are so many, as I say, there are businesses that are generally 99.9% FBA fulfilled and made, and so that's where most of the revenue goes. And actually, there's an interesting website called Empire Flippers where you can buy e-commerce based businesses.
Oh yeah.
And a large part of Empire Flippers offering is FBA businesses. So you can go on there and there'll be businesses of different sizes and different sale prices that you can inquire about. But it's strange. It's really interesting to see the volume of businesses that are solely FBA operated that you can go in there and buy, which does tell you that a lot of people are just focusing on one channel. Because typically, if you click on a listing, it will say, you know, this business does have like an Instagram following. They don't have their own e-commerce functionality, and all the sales do go through Amazon.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, that's great. If you're interested in buying a business and maybe improving it, that's fine. But the downside to things like that are that all your eggs are in one basket. And yes, your business might be successful now, but really you haven't got the strong brands because you're not using any other channels. And so how hard is it for another manufacturer to come into that space and do something similar to you, where all of a sudden your sales velocity just starts to go down? And that's the risk of being on one independent marketplace.
Yeah, completely. And I think there are two key points that come out of that. One is constant renewal. If you are 100% reliant on Amazon, again, it depends on your product, but you need to keep turning that wheel. But there's also this point of risk, right? As in, which came kind of when what we've spoken about in the past with COVID-19, as in you are laying all your eggs in one basket, and you're reliant on one channel. What if something happens with that channel? Like prime example was Amazon went over to essentials, and non-essentials suffered. So really, it's not only about building that brand awareness, but also having a contingency, which I'm always talking about contingency all the time, because I truly believe you know, it's a dangerous game to be solely focused on one channel, even if that channel is successful.
Well, we just saw that with the coronavirus pandemic, where, you know, like you say, like there was non-essential items were unable to get into the warehouses. So for the brands that were set up as FBM, fulfilled by merchant, they were okay because they could just switch that on and fulfill their orders themselves. But for the ones that were 100% reliant on Amazon, they had, I don't know what, up to 6 weeks, some of them longer. And some of them still don't have their normal, you know, ordering patterns as well, if they're on the vendor side. So that's an example of, oh, wait a minute. I mean, yeah, pandemics probably won't happen all the time, but you could have avoided that if you actually spread the risk out across other platforms. So I think that's another thing you've got to really be careful of.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, again, like when we were talking about product, it depends sort of on your product and your values and the story behind it, because we're starting to see brands that are, or products, it's not just about it being a t-shirt, it's about the story behind it, it's about the ethics and what the brand stands for, which is then what we're seeing is that's where people start building these brands on social media, and actually they're diverting all that traffic a lot of the time to their own website. And so we are seeing a shift in dynamics. So it's interesting that everyone's sort of like businesses that are 100% Amazon, will that actually, what will, you know, the question that we're asking now, what does that look like in 5 years' time as well?
It's not even, and I would even argue that just selling on Amazon or just on one marketplace, if it even wasn't Amazon, if it was eBay, is that really a customer-centric approach?
Yeah.
Which is funny, when we're talking about Amazon, we're talking about one of the most customer-centric companies in the world, along with Apple, big brands like that, Lego, so on and so forth. However, if you're limiting your channels and the content around your brand to more or less one platform, and you're not creating your own e-commerce website, even if that's just as an information portal, which is fine, then are you really that focused on the customer? Because if you're selling a product that's further up the funnel, that does require further consideration, you can be sure that that customer will go around other channels and try and find out additional nuggets of information on your brand. And if you're not set up for that, they're going to, trust me, there will be another brand, your biggest competitor will be a brand that does have all of that in place, and they won't think about it. They'll switch, they'll buy that one, and you've then lost out on that acquisition.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's and it sort of just all boils down to, you know, how long, what is your overall strategy really, and how much you really want to grow your brand, and if it's just you're quite happy with those sales on Amazon, then so be it. But yeah, there's always that element of risk, and you know, you sort of mentioned eBay. You know, every marketplace, every country is different as well. Some countries Amazon is more dominant in, but then you go to other countries, let's say France, where you've got other online retailers that can be just as strong as Amazon. So actually, you should be looking at each, if you are in, for example, Europe, looking at each marketplace differently, because there are lots of competitors out there to Amazon as well. And so thinking about
Bol.com and like in Holland and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. So you need to take all of that into consideration, I think, as well. But then that's when you start, when you start investing in your brand and start covering off all the EU marketplaces and start going in all the different retailers in those countries, that's when you know that does require an investment. But someone doing that is really investing in that brand and really wants to see that growth, which can be overwhelming for some other sellers that are like, I'm just fine with the UK. We get a good income. It works. It means I don't need to get more capital to buy loads more inventory, because that's also it with growth, right? The more growth you have, the more inventory you need to invest in. So it all starts becoming quite large, and some businesses don't necessarily want that, whereas some do.
So in summary, technically, yes, you can grow your business solely on Amazon. It's probably more of a short-term strategy, and growth may happen in certain metrics, but other metrics will definitely take a hit, such as brand awareness, even brand loyalty.
Yeah.
Great. Exactly. Well, the purpose of the virtual coffee break is to be short and snappy. I actually did forget to bring my coffee/tea to this event. You've got yours, so massive fail on my part. But yeah, I think we've definitely summarised that. So thank you everyone for tuning in to what's been episode 10. So that's 10 weeks of doing this, which is fantastic.
Yes, 10 weeks, and we've been sticking to it. So that's consistency.
We have. It's the most consistent thing I have in my life right now. The gym is out the window. There's other habits that have creeped in, which I need to get rid of, but this has been consistent, so I'm really happy with that. So yeah, we of course will share this. Please as always give us your feedback. Like our YouTube channel, like and follow our LinkedIn channel. We have some really interesting topics coming up over the next few weeks, and thanks again for tuning in.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.